Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Dragoncast. My name is Brian Daniels, and I'm back once again with my podcast partner in crime, Victor Salazar. And Victor, today we are welcoming back a guest we had on back in October, Mr. Tom Croom. He is the co-host of the Convention Nerds podcast, as you see there behind him, and as well as a founder of Wasabi Anime. Welcome back to the show, Tom. How you doing today, man?
Thank you. I'll be better shortly as the caffeine starts dipping in. Last night, my wife and I, we taking full advantage of the whole HBO Max thing. So whenever there's a new movie, we're like, we should watch this new movie. And we knew how bad Tom and Jerry was going to be.
Dude, yes.
Oh, man.
The balance of that is my wife cracking open a bottle of wine and the junk food. So this morning was a little rough, and it was because of what you had to do to yourself to get to that film. But
wow, I saw the previews to that, man. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh man, did I ask for this? I'm not sure I want a new Tom and Jerry movie.
If you cut the humans out of it, all the Tom and Jerry bits are actually extremely good. It was really entertaining.
I started it yesterday, and I got through halfway, and I was like, no.
It's the humans that mess it up. Whenever it's the cartoons. The cartoons are great. The
cartoon bits are funny. I wish it was just a cartoon movie. Not. We don't need. That movie.
So this morning has been a little rough, but woke up to and if we're gonna just jump into part of this conversation, are you guys familiar with Days of the Dead?
Yeah.
Dude, you already know I'm familiar with Days of the Dead. Let's talk.
So they're running this weekend in Atlanta, apparently.
Wow,
really?
So let's set this up. So we got Tom on the show today. For those who don't know, go back and listen to the one in October we did. I believe it's episode 46 or 43, where we had Tom on. We had another, I think Samuel Chase was his name. He was the owner of a con, and then we had a EMT on the show. So basically,
that's right.
About what we're going to talk about again. We're going to revisit this subject now that it's 2021, and we're seeing COVID. We're still dealing with COVID, albeit in a much better, I would say, position than we were last time around, dealing with COVID. And we wanted to talk and bring Tom on the show to talk about his thoughts about this year, now that we're in 2021. And we're right around that time of year when cons are making their announcements of what's going to happen and things like that. And he brought up Days of the Dead, which, for those who don't know, I am absolutely familiar with that con because I did an article about them for reasons that don't concern that kind of do concern the pandemic. And I actually, Tom, it's funny you mentioned them because I kind of got into it with their owner, Bill Philpott, about 2 months ago.
That dude was still going? Oh, man.
Yeah, we got into it about, this is a few months back. This is last year, probably November. And I was kind of calling him out for having cons in the pandemic and things like that, and a few other things. But they're running this weekend. Are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. So a guy I know, Max, owns a magazine in Jacksonville, Florida called Movement Magazine. You can find them on Instagram, Movement Mag. And from that, he posted, I guess the event takes place at the Sheraton.
Okay. And
everybody, when they started looking up hotel rates, discovered that the I guess it's which one is it? The Hilton down the street has cheaper rates, and he got there to check in, and they only have 2 people working the desk. Ooh. And there's an endless line going through the lobby. So because everybody, I guess, going to the con isn't going to stay at the host hotel.
Wow.
Which just jumps into the immediate problem that conventions are going to be running into. And as far as I have personally seen and experienced, have not been planning for is, hey, I figured out social distancing, or I figured out wear a mask in my con, but I'm not accounting for the fact that before you get into a convention, there's an area that everybody crowds to get into line. And so you're just massing them all in one place. I got a lot of blowback about a month or two ago. So what's happened is, since when I was on the last episode, I went to the conventions when they started up in Florida last summer. Like, pandemic be damned, we started doing shows, and I did the one blog post that went viral about somebody's running a toy show. Let me go see what they're doing. And I walked up and go, hey, what safety do you have in place? And the guy sarcastically said to me, he goes, oh, everybody's going to have to walk north and south. And I'm like, oh, really? And he goes, no, I don't care. Just stay away from everybody. And you walk in and it's a crowded room and there's no mask regulations at that point. So since then, I've tried to, because Florida, it's very easy to do. Every so often, it's like, okay, it's been another month. Let's go check another event because people are here.
Yeah.
So we had a show happen. It's about a month or 2 months ago, called Jacksonville Anime Day. And I own the largest pop culture event in Jacksonville, Wasabi Con. And I was like, this will be a good opportunity. One of the big conversations that's been happening with should cons happen is people saying I need them to happen. And it's vendors and people who monetize this significantly.
Sure.
So, whenever, people or fans get on soapboxes and go, hey, it's dangerous, you should just go bankrupt. These people are like, I got to pay my bills and feed my kids.
Yeah.
And so it's a weird balance to try to find. So in order to try to get a solid view from that perspective, I called the guy who runs the show and I said, listen, I want a vendor space. I want to go there, just set up. I'm going to pull a bunch of the swag, whatever we have in the storage unit, and I want to see it from the other end of the table. Because I've done 4 different reports on. I've walked into a con. Here's what they're doing, and it's kind of a rinse and repeat of, well, they're finally doing masks, but they're not enforcing the same problems. So we get there and set up our table. Look at and what he's done is he's extra spaced all of the tables. So, if you're at the end of your 6-foot table, you're still 6 feet from the end of the other table. So he's socially distancing all the vendors, which is great.
Okay.
Then if you look, the room was one big circle. So, and there were arrows on the ground. You had to just walk. It was a one-way circle if you went through. You can keep repeating circle, but it was a one-way circle. Then at the entranceway, he had a clicker and he had a thermostat. And he was double checking like, hey, what's your temperature? Cool. You can go in because at the exit, 2 people went out. And he was limiting the number of people in the room at any given time, which is great. This is all here's the formula for how you try to do this. Yeah. And it was super impressive. And we sat there and the way we cheated is, we're not regular vendors, but I'm like, how am I going to do this? It's experimentation time. We put everything in bins and then I had price lists. And it's like, oh, you want to look at Funko Pops? Take this. This is what we have. You want to look at video games? This is what we have. And for me, it was serving the B side for everything was a flyer for our local con. But then people would read it, come back in the circle, go, hey, can I see this? And we take out the bin and go, here it is.
Oh, and cool.
Lessened the, hey, everybody's going to touchy grabby gather.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we learned a lot of great things there. But akin to what we just showed from what's happening up in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
I finally had to go to the bathroom. Like, I got to go pee real quick because, endless coffee. And when I walked out of that safe space vendor's room, the lobby to the entire hotel, and you can scroll through my Instagram and find a video there of Tom Croom, was packed with human beings on top of each other in this long, unwieldy line going through the lobby of this hotel. Because it was a conference center and hotel. Yeah. And afterwards, I talked to the promoter about the numbers. And he said, he goes, hey, when I do Anime Day, I expect about 500 people. And I'm like, that's fair, especially at this location. He goes, we had, by early afternoon, we had sold about 1,200 tickets. I had to refund a couple hundred tickets. And additionally, we had to just stop selling tickets. And we turned away another 200 people. So 1,400 people approximately showed up for what is a 500-person one-day marketplace that was going to run from like 10 to 7.
Wow.
And there was no plan in place for it. And what's, consistently starting to be the vibe. And again, Atlanta, this is the first time I've seen something out of Atlanta. I see everything out of my own state. It's the, hey, here's my safety. Here's my this, or here's my half-assed safety. Here's my this. And then nobody's paying attention to, you're defeating all of that is immediately defeated.
Yeah.
If when they're coming into the building, they're all, stuck in a line for an hour on top of each other. So
and that's the thing too, is I'm in Indiana and I'm hearing we only have one convention so far, PopCon, that has already announced they're going to have an in-person convention in July. And then of course Gen Con put out a press release yesterday or a few days ago saying that they're still looking into the possibility of trying to do a con, even though they have they're like a 70,000 person convention, which I don't see how that's going to happen. The thing is, and I don't think we really mentioned this too much on the last podcast we did, but I want to look at it from a financial standpoint. Is it really financially feasible to try to do a convention with low attendees, especially like a con like Gen Con, for instance, who gets like 70,000 people in a 4-day week, to try to, how much of a profit are they really, is it really worth the profit loss to try to have a convention during a pandemic when you're not going to be able to you're not going to have your peak attendees, to get a similar profit that you normally do on a non-pandemic convention? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it really financially feasible when it comes to that?
To add on that real quickly though, do we have to scale down the convention to even make it possible? Because I mean, usually you put on a big show for people, but if you know you're going to have limited attendance, do you even go all out?
Well, and there's different. So the one show example you're using, unfortunately, is a bad example to use. I don't know if you know this, but I actually work for Gen Con. So Wasabi Anime gets contracted by them. We've run their anime track for 10 years. And we've had discussions with them. And I was supposed to, I actually had a deadline yesterday. I had to get them in a concept proposal for how we could try to do things. Yeah. And the discussion within Gen Con isn't as much I wouldn't say it's a financial driving conversation, which is interesting. Now, again, that's unlike 90% of the other shows. But their approach to it is they're trying to see, I mean, finance still comes into play, which is can they weather the storm for another year? Because the conversation happening right now, and this is why I love Gen Con so much, to be honest with you, is can we and should we? Can we logistically run a limited capacity event? Because you're still going to at least get some financial recovery out of it, even limited. Sure. Should we? Because their biggest concern, which is again why I love them, is show quality. Conventions, gaming, tabletop conventions are the one facet out of all of the pop culture, genre of conventions that is literally you're there to sit proxy to other human beings for extended periods of time. If I go to a pop culture con, it's hey, Mark Hamill speaking on stage. I'm going to go into a panel room, sit there for an hour, get up and go walk around. Right. This is okay. It's Twilight Imperium. I've got my ticket for the game. I'll be sitting with these people in this room for the next 6+ hours. Yeah. And so the discussion is, can you, even if it's safe enough for a normal con, can you create a good enough and compelling product, event for attendees? And that's the answer that they're going through right now. And when I spoke to them last, it was literally the end of this month was going to be hey, March, we're going to make our decision. So we should see a decision out of Gen Con shortly, but their driver, while finance does come into play, they're an impressive show because their other primary driver is the attendee experience. They want to make sure that it's worth a damn. To go to the other end of the spectrum, what you're discussing, we're having the same discussion. So I own a show. It's going to be public in a moment anyway. So I own a show in Portland, Oregon called it was called Anime PDX, and then NewCon PDX, Anime PDX. We rebranded it Fandom PDX, but now we've rebranded it this year. It's now the sister show to the Jacksonville show. It's called Wasabi Con PDX. Okay. And our Wasabi Con shows are anime, cosplay, gaming. Comics are cool, whatever, but we just focus on those 3 pillars. Nice. And as we've begun planning, WasabiCon PDX was supposed to happen New Year's weekend this year. So we're one of the few shows that actually happened in 2020. First weekend of January, WasabiCon PDX happened last year. So they didn't skip a year yet. They were supposed to happen January. Obviously, it didn't happen. So we pushed back 5 months and we decided Memorial Day weekend. Now, the conversation I had to have was if it was a Memorial Day weekend in Florida, I might be able to do it. Memorial Day in Portland, no way in hell. I'll get dragged out the street and shot. So just for what are you doing? You're killing people. And it's a different perspective on how safe things can be done. So we're going to announce we're going to move it back to August. But the trick is when we look at those shows, that show's a smaller show because I just bought it.
Yeah.
It peaked at like, it was about a 3,000, 4,000 person show.
Mhm.
We bought, because it crashed, I bought it and cleaned it up. And now it's like maybe 2,000 people.
Mhm.
So we have literally built an entire matrix of, all right, if we do this show and we cut our attendance from 2,400, it's a 3,000 person capacity,
Mhm.
and we assume only 1,200 tickets.
Mhm.
Is there a profit threshold? Can we make money? Can we do it safely? And there's no consistent answer to that. And it's
Yeah.
literally a case-to-case basis. And then the
Yeah.
trick is convention promoters have to look at that from a financial. So these little, the ones that you see happening the most in Florida are these, hey, one day toy show collector shows.
Mhm.
Because the overhead on those is, hey, I spent $500 at a hotel to get a room, and then I'm charging 10 vendors $100. There's my grand,
Right.
paid my bills, and then charged $2, $3 to $5 for somebody to get in the door. I get another 100 people. You're making money that way. So
Right.
it's a small margin piece, but that's the model that has become predominant now, is the shopping show versus the celebrity show.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to go back to what you said, is it financially feasible? It's scalable. And that's going to depend on a market. So again, one of the companies I work with, we consult, we design the anime for Informa Pop Culture, Fan Expo HQ in North America. Informa is based in London. Fan Expo HQ is in Canada, and they have shows all over the United States. Fan Expo Boston, Dallas, etc.
Right.
And what's amazing working with them is, as we plan our ventures with them, the insight to how we have to do things. So, for example, the Orange County Convention Center is in high demand in Orlando, Florida. It is insane demand. Why? Because we can rent things here.
Yeah.
So our doors have been wide open because our governor is psychotic and deemed that the WWE was an essential business shortly after the pandemic started last year.
Yeah, that made no sense.
That was crazy, right? Yeah.
But there are conventions that normally take place in Chicago, New York, etc., that are coming to Florida. The case in point, this weekend, CPAC, the conservative political event, in Orlando.
Yeah,
because they can do it. So they're actually doing well. Versus, if you go to Boston or Chicago, those are two cities I know because I've worked with before.
Right.
Those are expensive cities to operate in, extremely expensive. So what's the viability of, hey, if we do a limited capacity, because conventions make money off of gate. If you're a convention promoter, you're a convention owner,
right,
you don't really make money off of selling vendor space.
Yeah.
The simplistic equation is, sell your vendors, sell your artists. That's supposed to pay your rent. Get your sponsors. That's supposed to pay your advertising. All of your margin, profit, anything is going to come from gate. How many tickets, how many butts can you get through the door? And it's always been, sky's the limit. But now we're having to deal with the very real possibility of what's the cap? How many people am I going to allow in? Now, when I create that map, can I sell that number out?
Right.
And if I can, is it going to pay my bills, and how much is it going to be? And some cities that's very hard to do. Other cities, like Florida, hell, we joke all the time. Whenever I negotiate a contract for a show in Orlando, if it's a hotel-based event, oh my God, it's the land of milk and honey, because there's like 20 different properties you can pit against each other. Jacksonville, Florida, I can choose right now between two, and it's like which one, and then neither one of them's going to budge because they don't care. So
that's crazy. When you mentioned the West Coast and the East Coast and how they're differentiating that type of mentality there, it's crazy to me, because in the West Coast, you don't want to open anything up. And once you start opening up, people start getting crazy, saying, hey, what's going on? That place should be shut down, calling the cops and, reporting each other and stuff like that. Then you hear Florida and it's a completely different story over there. And it's insane, dude.
Yeah.
But I've seen what you're talking about in terms of the smaller scale shop type thing. I actually experienced that not too long ago here in my hometown, where they had a parking lot open for, shopping vendors. They had the Funko Pops. They had like different tables spread apart.
Yep.
They were charging a head to go in and just, literally go in a circle and, check out the merch and leave. I didn't participate. I drove by because I was curious as to how it was going to work. And the one thing that I did not like was that they had them all laid out. So instead of having things in a bin, people were picking up the pops, you know, they're checking them out, putting them back down, go to the next table, do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big old line. People are going into the street. And it made me think, how much responsibility does the shop owner or the convention owner have for that open space that's not part of the convention?
So
like the hotel lobby per se.
You're bringing up a good point, and that's kind of the counter argument that we're dealing with right now. So when I look at shows, like I looked at Days of the Dead, and I looked at their limitations on their website today. A lot of the shows are doing the crying no joy on the responsibility level, especially again in Florida. It's very easy to do. Yeah. And what it comes down to is that's the exact slippery slope you described. Because like when I look at shows, I'm looking for our big ticket shows that we know they're out there. A lot of them, as they've started talking about this, have already put out preliminary, here is the level we are going to. And coming from Florida, there's pros and cons to every argument. Do I think Florida should have opened as soon as it did? Absolutely not. It wasn't safe.
Oh, no.
Did we get a positive result from doing so? Yes. I feel safer walking into the Walt Disney World Resort in the morning than I do walking into a grocery store. Because the Disney, out of all of them, now don't get me wrong, not all the theme parks are this good.
Yeah.
But Disney, like I took a picture. I was so happy when I saw it the other day. Like I'll go in because my annual pass is going to expire soon. So we'll go early in the morning. Nobody's there. Get in. As soon as I see a crowd, I leave. I have a hotel on property, so I can go take a shower. But the sign says, if you are, and this is such a minutia piece that really defines the vibe of a whole show. And I've seen differences in conventions and with the hotel.
Yeah.
Anybody seen wearing a mask inappropriately will be asked to leave or will be escorted off property. The term is very clear. It's you will be. You get to conventions, it's please wear a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that
that enforcement was big, and that's the discussion that we've had, Brian.
Well, that's
not wearing this property, man.
That is the one thing I did want to absolutely. I'm glad, Tom, you brought that up, because the problem with this whole pandemic is a business's responsibility to ensure customer safety, whether you're at a grocery store or at an event like a convention. And I feel that the problem has been a lot of these businesses, we'll say like Target, Walmart, things like that, they have these signs that say wear a mask, or some of them say even like you cannot enter without a mask. But the messed up part is the enforcement of it. It's kind of like having a rule that doesn't matter, right? And so I feel like the problem is for the convention scene, and I feel like this is going to be a problem a lot of cons are going to face, is that enforcing. Not so much that they're not going to, I would hope they do it at a convention, but how much are the people the attendees are going to be like, yeah, right? Because that's the whole attitude so far of people has been, well, I know this business isn't going to enforce it, so I'm just going to walk in with that one.
And it comes down into the phraseology and the level that you want to send that message. And the problem is in Florida, unfortunately, we're a very red state. And I live in a town. I'm very liberal. I'm that beach hippie. But I live in a town where 90% of my population is over the age of 65, and extremely red. Yep. So it's it's a hoax. That sort of mentality exists around us. And that's the trick. It's where you see a business to business basis and there's zero consistency. So I am in a perpetual Twitter war. My wife laughs at me with Publix, because again, I'll walk into Publix and I'll go shopping, and then I'll see two people walk around and I'll look at employee and nobody's approaching these people. Yep. And each time I've done hey, I walked in, there were 10 people in your grocery store, 2 weren't wearing a mask, which means you're only enforcing this 80%. And I saw staff walk by and make eye contact. How do you do? Well, we handle everything on a case-by-case basis. So I go in again, 3 teenagers walking around hooping and hollering. So I take a selfie of myself with them behind me. I'm like, pretty sure there's no medical restriction on these. Nobody talked to these kids. And they'll ignore answers. And then it got to the point, it's even more dangerous now because of the vaccines made it worse. So I was in the grocery store the other night.
Yeah.
And I went to go. I was Publix chicken tenders are like heaven. So I went to go order the for dinner. I was like, hey, I'm gonna take some of these home, and I'm standing there, and an old couple walks up physically right behind me, like a foot and a half, trying to look over my shoulder at the food. Neither one of them is wearing a mask. So I turn around, like,
no.
I literally turn around and go, excuse me, can you please step back about 6 feet? And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And they were quiet at that point. So I gave them a moment, and I ordered my food, and then somebody else came up and says, can we help anybody else? They're like, well, we don't know. Are we allowed to come up to the glass and look? And I said, well, it'd be a lot easier if you were wearing a mask. They're like, well, we already got it. And the guy starts staring me down, and I'm like, keep staring, bro. I can do this all day. And he goes, we got our vaccine. I'm like, that doesn't mean you can't carry it, asshole.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Yeah.
And again, Florida, you have a guy that was over there. I'm like, look around. Everyone's wearing a mask. And there's one guy I didn't see was over there. He goes, I got it. It was just the flu. And I'm like, oh, gee, there's one of you everywhere.
Oh, dude.
So I walked to the front. And I was like, I need a manager. And he's like, what? I'm like, and the exact quote was, and my wife loves this because she was in the car. I came back. I'm like, you the manager? Hi. I feel safer in a fucking theme park with Mickey Mouse than I do going to the necessity of shopping in your grocery store. There are two people right there not wearing a mask who are a foot behind me and are paying no regard to anybody around them.
Yeah.
What are you going to? I'll go talk to them right now. I watched the manager walk away from me to go talk to them, and he just figured I would look away, and he just walked past them and never went to talk to them.
Yeah. See,
I've spoken to employees on Twitter who've replied to a lot of my tweets and go, I work there, which there's enforcement, but I'll have a social an anxiety attack. And I'm like, well, it shouldn't be your job, but there should be somebody who is. Now, conversely, Trader Joe's. If you ever go to a Trader Joe's, if you walk in, there's a line to get in, and they space your line to get in. And when you get in, they're limiting the number of people in there. And you know what they're doing? They're going, okay, here's some hand sanitizer. You have your mask. If you don't, I have one for you, but you're not getting in without it, asshole. Right. And they're polite, but they're firm. Yeah. And so what's going to happen with conventions, and I've already seen happen, and mark my word, here's the trend. Hey, I'm the con promoter. I put in my rules, but I don't have to enforce it because that's the hotel's problem on that side. Or what I saw happen at one of the toy shows was they didn't want it. You could tell they didn't want it. The same people who ran the other show, and they're like, per the hotel property, you have to wear a mask when you're inside at all times. But they didn't give a shit. So it was the cool. I saw people walk around because the hotel wasn't taking the time to enforce it. Because they got people just coming back from furlough and they're understaffed. So it's all coming down to a staffing issue is going to be the biggest problem. And then the next layer to that problem becomes cool. For conventions that are NPOs, we operate on all volunteers. Really? What sort of a waiver do you have a volunteer signing now to volunteer their time and technically risk their life at this point? They're going to do that. And how much is a volunteer going to want to enforce it? So the big problem we just described is safety at a convention has to be active and not passive. Yeah. Shows have to have a voice.
Absolutely.
And the problem is the ones that are doing it right now are doing it because they need to fill their coffers. And it's Publix is the perfect example in Florida. Why isn't Publix enforcing it? Because most of the state is, don't give a shit. Yeah. And they don't want to upset most of the state because they want the money.
Of course. Yeah.
Capitalist society. It's it's a reality of it. There's an in between, but as we're going to see it now, I'm going to be trolling Instagram and Twitter all day. I want to see photos. Whenever a convention happens right now, I'm like, I want to see it. I want to see the people walk around. And most of the pictures you'll get will be here's inside the vendor's room, or here's everybody's wearing a mask inside of there. And that's brilliant. And God bless the promoters that are making sure that happens. However, there's that secondary piece that it's kind of like, oh my God, I wore condom the whole time, except for the last 30 seconds. I didn't think I needed it. It's like, well, congratulations for being safe, but you missed a pivotal part.
Yeah.
So if it's, hey, we have all the safety in place, but before you get in the building, you're going to have to stand in a line for an hour, asshole to elbow, with hundreds, if not thousands of other people. Yeah. Then what was the point of the safety in there?
Of everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing right now as I watch the evolution of conventions.
Do you you know, we see these videos on YouTube all the time of people being like a Karen over wearing a mask. You know, do you foresee that being an issue at conventions this year if they decide to, you know, kind of as more open up or more decide versus last year? Do you see this being an issue where, you know, a convention does try to take it seriously, or other attendees calling out other attendees, hey, you need to be wearing a mask? Like, do you see this being a problem within the convention scene as well, like as we see it at other stores and things like
this
that?
is a part where I'm a little bit of an optimist. And I don't think it's going to be as much of a problem at conventions, because conventions are fandom communities, and communities are very good at self-policing.
Exactly.
And they're not very. You do have, like in my fan base, predominantly are predominantly introverts. You know, it's an anime fandom, so you're not going to have it as much. But you have that percentage out of there that aren't, that just swing so hard the other way that you can't not hear them constantly, and they will be the ones that will be loud about it. So that's number one. Number two is. Fandom is about caring, and there exists the concept of, you know, I should be worried about it, and especially the you know, older fans know that there's much older fans, and especially talking with celebrities, these are older, you know, vulnerable celebrities. So I don't think it's going to be as bad. Do I think it's going to happen? Oh, absolutely. But you have to be equipped to handle the person. I saw a video on TikTok last night. That somebody posted from CPAC, the conservative event happening right now. And it's like, the woman is making fun of it. And now I want to try to find the video clip on my own at some point. She goes, it's really sad to realize when you have to explain wearing masks like you're talking to school children.
Yeah.
And showed a video from it, and it was a guy and a woman. And it's like, now we are inside private property. And because we're inside private property, their rules covered, we have to wear a mask the whole time. And it's this Republican convention, and in the audience, you hear people going, boo, freedom, literally
the murmurs.
saying boo
I'm like,
and freedom.
Oh my goodness.
Like literally, and so the other guy starts explaining, he goes, well, it's like we're guests in somebody's house, and when you're at their house, you follow their rules. And the woman's right. I'm like, you're explaining this like you're talking to a 3-year-old. Jesus.
Well, I mean, Tom.
But the trick is that's just how I don't see that happening at pop culture conventions.
I would hope
see
not.
the random people that are going to show up of, you know, because we get them anyway. You know, I came here and I don't believe there's that girl with big boobs in the anime cartoon that my little Timmy just saw. It's like, well, ma'am, you haven't been researching what Timmy's been watching. I don't know what to tell you from there. So you're always going to have the upset parent, the upset person, or the token Karen that's going to find some reason to be upset about something. That said, statistically speaking, fandom, I think, is a much lower percentage of that demographic that we're going to have to deal with, or I hope so. You know, that said, like I said, first show I went to a show last summer, and everybody there wasn't wearing a mask. A handful were, and people didn't give a shit. So that also goes into regionality, population. It's a complex matrix, which unfortunately goes back to kind of the core answer to everything we're going to talk about today. There's no one cookie cutter answer that's going to be universal, because if there's one thing the pandemic has shown us, and just the past few years in general, it's how regional the United States actually is compared to how united the United States.
And that is what we're seeing here. And the other unfortunate part, you keep bringing up the fact that Florida is a red state. It sucks that the pandemic has been politicized as much as it has been, because it really shouldn't even be about that.
Be an issue.
You know?
Well, you live in Indianapolis, right?
I live in Southern Indiana. I'm from Indianapolis, so I myself am in a red state.
But let's face it, it's you know, we say this all the time. Austin is not Texas. Indianapolis is not Indiana.
Right. Yeah.
If you go to the rest of the state, it's the
rest of the state where you really see
you walk out, it's Mike Pence territory, and it's entirely not what that city is.
Right.
Texas, if you go to Austin, you think you're somewhere else, but you're not in Texas. It's an entirely different mentality and world. And that's what we've seen so much of. And as conventions happen, you know, the knowledge of you know, the regional areas for different cons is what's going to come into play. It's the cool, well, I know this city's kind of like this was kind of like this, how lax, how strict. And then again, it's going to go back to what I said is going to be the problem, which is, hey, I put my rules up. You have to wear a mask in there. What about that like massive, huge problem in the lobby? I don't know. It's the hotel's problem. Not my problem. I'm going to deal with it. If you don't have a plan in place for it, then you are, again, I can use my horrible analogy. I just woke up. I wore a condom, except for that last 30 seconds. Congratulations.
Now, I've been seeing people. I am a part of several comic or convention groups on Facebook, and I'm seeing this being talked about as a means of making conventions more, I guess, accessible and acceptable. Do you ever see a time where this year where we're gonna have to gain entry to a convention, you have to have the vaccine? Do you think that will ever be a thing? That you have to have the vaccine to come into a con?
The way we gauge in my company how we do things, and again, like I said, I'm very lucky, is I live in Florida.
Right.
And I go, how's Disney doing it? What's Disney doing?
Right.
The next one that's going to be the closest one to that is we are, at least my team, I can't speak for all cons. Sure. My team is watching the cruise line industry very closely. Because that is the next similar model is a contained environment with the same people passing each other over and over again. Theme park is that, but it's outdoors.
Yeah.
On a cruise ship, you're inside for a core of the cruise ship. So it's a little more akin to a convention. And they haven't made, now in certain parts of the world, they are, like Singapore and stuff, they're running, but Asian countries, European countries all have different standards for stuff. Like, you can issue, China's full contact tracing. We know where the hell you are all the time. Have a nice day. So we can deem what you can do and not do. In the United States, that's violation of civil liberties. So, there's advantages to both. Is there going to be a way to show? Here's what I will say. I will say that if it does become a way to be a requirement, you're going to have people show up with fake ADA cards saying, I couldn't, my doctor told me I couldn't take the vaccine. And you have to let me in, otherwise you're violating my rights. And it's like, no, it's a private event, snowflakes. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to be a requirement. The news as I've seen it is, for herd immunity to kick in, we need 75% of the population to be vaccinated. Time frames, and this is the conversation, I'll say publicly with all our business partners. Our conversations change every damn week.
Yeah.
One week we can feel like, woo, we're there. We're gonna. Next week it's like, never the fuck mind. Maybe canceling it, and it changed every week. So, the goal is by the end of the summer we're there, and then it transforms from then everybody gets their rights, their personal choice to do so. Because if we have, hey, this level of the population is inoculated and we're running an event, you can choose whether or not to go and choose whether, and if you haven't been inoculated, you're putting yourself at risk. Our show's still going to require masks in the fall. I think so. I think that's not going to go away till 2022.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And having traveled to Japan as much as I have, it's so weird to see the pushback in the North American market against that on something that, I started going to Japan 10 years ago.
Yeah, they've been doing it
completely normalized.
They've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's if I think I have the slightest hint of a cold or I have hay fever that I might be sneezing all day, put on a mask, especially because, they have public transportation, high rail system everywhere else. You're always around people. That's how you slow the spread. And honestly, that's how Japan slowed the spread so well for themselves is
absolutely.
Well, we're already doing the key things. The best piece of advice I got out of Japan when this all started happening, a good friend of mine is a broker over there. She's like, okay, go out and in Japan, what we're doing, go buy lots of mouthwash. What the hell are you talking about? She goes, we carry it with us everywhere now. And it's just constantly do mouthwash to kill the germs in your mouth.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Mask. Okay. And I'm like, I never thought about that because that's the whole thing is when you're sneezing, it's the droplets and that's how the virus carries. Just keep drinking mouthwash all day. Make sure your mouth is numb from the blue shit, You'll smell like
that's interesting though.
It'll be great. But I'm like,
but it makes sense. It makes sense.
It's logical.
I've never seen that pushed in the States. It's because we can, and the reason is that's like advanced level shit. We can barely wear a mask in this country. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're trying to get people to wear masks, let alone carry Listerine all the time,
Yeah.
So it's
so is it I think you're going to see, here's my rules for my convention. And they're going to do that. And whether or not you can blame a promoter for not being able to handle what's in the hotel. I don't think it's a blame game. I think it's a learning game. I think it's a, see the problem. Now, the trick is we're seeing the problem start to happen. How many are going to address the problem, or how many are going to wait for somebody else to address the problem? And that's where we're seeing the evolution of coming back into shows operating all over again. And I said this a year ago, and I'm going to stand by it, which is when conventions start happening, a lot of vocal fans are going to be quick to invoke cancel culture and say, this con fucked up, or this con messed up, and I'm done with them forever. And we can't do that. We have to realize that this is a learning curve situation.
Absolutely.
So even like the shows that I've been to 4 shows on my blog that I took pictures and critiqued, and it said, here's the mistakes they made.
Yeah.
People are going to make mistakes. I don't give a shit. We're going to have to make the mistakes to learn. What I give a shit about is if I come back to your show next year and you're still making the same mistakes.
Same mistakes.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
That happens with shows. But the one I'm looking forward to next is a show in the market I work at in Jacksonville, Florida, called Collective Con. Collective Con happened last year, and they were the first out of the gate to be a 2-day show with celebrity guests. And so I covered them on my blog, and I went there, and I'm not friendly with the owners, but it's not an animosity thing. We know each other. But the perk they got out of it is I took a really cool photo at their show. They set up their main events room. They're in a fairgrounds instead of a convention center. And they took sets of 2 seats, and they would spread them up 6 feet apart. And so the entire main events room held maybe 500 people, or 200 people. I think it was 300, actually, 300 people max. But it was little sets of 2 seats, socially distanced in this room with this stage in the center. So I took this really cool photo of it when it was empty. And it wound up being on the cover of the newspaper, Japan Times in Tokyo. And I got a copy of it sent to me in Tokyo. It's Future of Anime Conventions. And so they got publicity. But they happened, and they were the first one out of the gate to do it last year. And it was no more people showed up than at these one-day things. It was very, very light attendance. They're slated to happen in March for their next show. And they've not canceled. They're a 2-day event. And they're happening literally the weekend of the world shut down last year, 13th, 14th, and 15th. And if you remember, last year it was March 13th. A guy named Alex Jabali owns the CEO Gaming Convention series. Was running his convention that weekend and was live tweeting here's what we're dealing with, because the government's now saying shut down everything. We're in the middle of a con. What are we doing? What are we supposed to do? So I plan on trying to go up there and see this Jacksonville show, because I'm like, this is exactly 1 year from the weekend. The world shut down. You actually ran into the show. What are you doing differently, or what are we doing differently? Because this is going to be one of those, Coke and Pepsi find out one day that there's a bad can design. Rivalries be damned. They need to work together, and we all need to work together to figure out what's going to work best to make safe environments for our attendees. But we have to create them, and it's going to have to start happening, because it's the problem is that I got pushback when I did the show as the vendor. And my counter argument was, and people got upset with it, was, how dare you? You're supporting a show by going to it and doing this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to study and learn from it. And like, you shouldn't do it at all. I'm like, your answer is tantamount to tell the teenagers not to have sex. They won't get pregnant versus let's give birth control and education. And we're in the education curve. This stuff's happening. I can't magically go, hi, I'm Tom Croom. I'm telling you not to have a convention. Promoters are doing their own shit. So I'm going to go there and see it and see what they're doing right and wrong, and then take a hot shower at my hotel. We can't stop it. It's going to happen. The trick is to what level it's happening and what we're doing as a community to learn from it, critique what's wrong, support what's right, and then get ourselves to that point.
Yeah, I'm hoping this year to actually go to a convention or two, because as you know, Tom and Victor, I review conventions, and the one thing that's going to end up being a part of my reviews now is, of course, how they're dealing with COVID, safety. And that's one thing I'm actually looking forward to checking out is that. So for those that are con owners that are having me at your con this year, just be prepared. I am going to be looking out for that sort of thing, and you will get critiqued by that from me. But The thing is, I've already noticed with some cons already is they're limiting badge sales, or they're doing their badge sales in a different manner. I know with like PopCon, for instance, here in Indiana, that has already said they're going to do a face-to-face convention in July. They have decided to take away selling weekend badges, and what they're doing is people that had a weekend pass last year that are rolling over to this year, they're going to give them a badge for each individual day, and they're only selling single day badges.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very interesting thing. I've heard of other cons that are actually going to be trying to do contact tracing, which I like. I'm interested to see how they're going to handle that. I don't know if that's something that if you buy a badge, you have to when you check in, you have to let them know where you've been.
So I can address
a lot of trial and error, dude.
Yeah,
so let's go to your first one.
Yeah,
which was limiting tickets.
Yeah.
There was a better plan that was put in place when we had the CEO for LA Comic-Con on Convention Nerds, and their plan was, and this is where you get into deep data. So you have to have the data support and then dive into it to make it work. And data supports the fact that when any human being goes to a convention, they spend approximately 6 hours there. They pick their peak time they want to go, because here's where my favorite celeb is on stage, and I'm going to spend the time not there going to a panel or going shopping or game room, that rotation, right? So in a standard pop culture con, it's a 6 hour window. So what LA Comic-Con had planned to do was to sell 2 shifts on Friday, 2 shifts on Saturday, 2 shifts on Sunday. So you could buy yourself, Friday part 1 would be there for the 6 hours. And then when they shut down the show, they had people come through, spray and sanitize, reopen again, and do it again. So it was, there were 6 different tickets you could buy. Now, could you buy all of them as a set? Sure. You want to be access to everything. You're going to leave, come back, leave, be that person. Yeah. But the trick is, and the reason they did it, and honestly, probably the same reason you're seeing it happen with PopCon, is when you sell a 3-day show, the concept of selling a 3-day ticket is to create the discount. It's like, cool. Well, Friday is $20, Saturday is $30, Sunday is $20. Well, if you add that all up, that's a $70 ticket. But typically, if you bought a weekend ticket, we're going to sell to you to probably about, $50.
Right.
So you're losing margin there. So if you eliminate the weekend piece, then just buy per day, that's what's going to happen. So the 2 trends that are happening right now and are being discussed, and we want it too, is I was talking to a manager for a famous singer, like famous pop singer, and she and I were all friends, and I was discussing with him. I said, I'm hoping, that this culture we're walking into post-COVID for conventions retrains fandoms to act the way concerts work. And if somebody's coming for concert where I live and it's somebody I give a shit about, you're doing the, oh God, it's going on sale at midnight, better buy that ticket because it's going to sell out.
I get you.
Pop culture cons, there's maybe 3-4 pop culture con, PAX, SDCC, New York Comic Con, that you worry about, oh shit, Emerald City, that it's going to sell out. You are worried about those. But the other 95% of pop culture cons, no, you only sell typically, depending on your region, 30 to 50% in advance. And the other 50% is walk up at the gate.
It's a more relaxed means of pre-ordering.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. So what's going to happen, and what we're hoping is going to happen, is, well, there's only a finite number of tickets now, kids. Buy it. And some conventions are going as far as saying, buy it. We're just going to sell. We're going to sell. We're not selling at the door. And I think that's going to be because it, one, minimizes the problem I described with the line issue. And two, it eliminates, cash handling, which is a big congregation piece. So prediction is watch. And again, to why are they doing one day only? It's for margin purposes. But number two, the ideal is, hopefully we'll be there in a year or so, is here's how many tickets are available. Here's
create that urgency.
Counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you
my
have to
question,
create that urgency.
So my follow-up to you then, Tom, is and I hadn't thought about this until we got on the subject of ticket sales. What do you do for those that already bought a ticket last year when you were selling more than what you are now?
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that? Like, because say for instance, you have a convention who has, we'll say, about 2,500 attendees per day.
Yep.
And you're limiting your convention now to only, we'll say, 1,000 attendees per day. How do you roll those over when you are selling less than what you did the year before? How do you adjust for that? Do you give partial refunds to some?
If I were in
how
that
do you
problem,
pick and choose? I mean, that's what I'm curious about.
I don't think that's a problem, to be honest with you. I don't think that problem exists in the wild. Because again, early ticket sales, it's a hard it's hard for you to be at that level of, oh God, I sold $5,000 and I can only fit $1,000 a day. That's not going to happen. So the two answers to that are: one, it's not going to happen. Number two is then you have to do a full refund reset. And there are shows out there that have done that, like Anime Expo. Before the end of December last year, refunded every single ticket they had sold. They're like, hey, it's just not going to happen. We've now refunded everything. We're starting at ground zero. There are other reasons they did it, but they're still now we're at ground zero. So when they decide to come back, which
I like
personally
that
I'm predicting 2022, it's here's your money. Now you can buy in again. Number two is, or number three, one is not going to happen. Two is that's the solution. Three is if you have to get really desperate, do what LA Comic-Con did. Like, okay, cool. 6 hours is the ticket because that's what we're going to sell for this now. You can apply it to one of each shift.
Right.
And then do something like that. And that would be the creative answer. But I don't see that as big an issue. And again, the answer is just refund everything. And here's your money. Next week you can buy it again. Here's the new format. It will sell out. Go with God, my child.
Yeah, that's exactly what Anime Expo did. I was part of that group where I got refunded for that 4-day ticket, and it's a matter of when we open up, come back and buy another one again. That way, it's a clean slate.
The other reason they did that, right?
Go. What's the other reason?
What's the other reason?
They changed their. And this is all public because they're 501. They announced the year before 2019 that they were changing from a 501c6 to a C3. Which means they flipped into their new co probably January 1st this year. And in order to do that, it's easier for a bookkeeping standpoint
to keep track,
to clean out everything,
clean it out,
and start brand new at zero on January 1st.
That's right. Yeah. Makes the books that way. Yeah.
Well, let me go to your other thing you brought up, contact tracing.
Yeah.
So contact tracing, the way that's going to work is, again, we talked about Anime Expo is a good example. There are shows that already operate on the concept of RF badges. So if you left the LA Convention Center like in 2018, because they've been doing this since then, the only way you got back in is you had to. There were people there with a little thing. They're like, "Let me see your badge." All right, you can come back in.
Yeah.
So you can at least do were you in the building? What entryway did you come through? You have enough crowd flow data.
That's true.
You can actually do a certain level of contact tracing. Now, going back to what I said, we pay attention to on cruise ships, the ones in Singapore that are running.
Right.
When you get on the cruise, they give you a wristband watch you are required to wear. It's like a Disney Magic Band. And it allows them to do full contact tracing the entire time you're on the ship.
That's cool.
So it's okay, cool. Somebody somehow got COVID and we know. Excellent. Pull the data. Cross-route, and it'll go, here's the report. All these people have been past this person. And then go, hey, you all now need to isolate. When it comes to a convention, it's going to be the same thing, which is, hey, it's happened. You were at the convention, it's like, well, I was there on Friday and the person with COVID showed up on Saturday. Well, you're not going to get an email if you're on Friday. But everybody else, like, hey, it was discovered after the convention that this person tested positive. You were in proximity of them. We advise that if you're not already inoculated, you need to be aware. And you're going to see that happen. So what's going to happen is, the conventions with the financial means to do so, you're going to see a rise over the next couple of years of RF access. And that's going to be how they're going to do contact tracing at conventions.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a good point. I hadn't thought about the RFID and being able to show where people have at least entry points and things of that nature. I like that. That's good. What about I'm just going to ask you a few things I see from the community. I'd like to get your opinion on. What about let's talk about celebrities and the whole photo ops deal and the meet and greets and things like that. How do you feel like those are going to change? How do you see those changing when it comes to doing conventions now?
Some of that hits on again a frustration thing. So the convention happening right now in Atlanta. There's a photography company there, and they're doing photography. And the answer, and this bothers me as a consumer, is what they're going to do. How you handle that photo is going to be based on the comfort of the celebrity. So the reason I don't like that answer, quite frankly, is because it doesn't allow me as a buyer to be prepared. It's like, oh, so I'm standing next to conspiracy theorists who thinks it's all a joke, and I'm going to stand, and they're going to have no problem hugging and breathing on me if I take a photo. I don't want that photo now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're banking in the other direction, which is more people like, oh, that's great, I'm getting my better photo. So what is the answer to that? There is no answer. I have heard 5 different answers, and that is an active conversation piece happening right now. Wow. I have seen, I personally experienced the one I showed pictures of was, I wound up being in Memphis around Christmas time. I went to Graceland for my anniversary.
Nice.
And we went in Memphis. They have the Pyramid Outdoor World location, and they had Santa Claus set up there already. And Santa Claus was behind this sheer plexiglass wall wearing a face mask. And you stood on the front side of the wall, and they had a professional photography team there that when they took that photo, you looked at the photo, you'd have to look real hard to realize that there was a barrier between us.
That's cool.
The lighting, everything was perfect. So it looked like we were proxy to them.
Right.
That said, when you're buying a photograph, you're buying it for the memory of an interaction. I say this all the time to the actors that I work with, which is you're not selling your autograph. The autograph is the free with purchase. You're selling a moment of time. You're selling that interaction. So it kind of detracts from it. The other one I've seen is put the thin plexiglass right in the middle. And so celebrities on this side and you're on this side, and you can be as close as you want because there's it's the condom
there's a barrier there.
Yeah. Piece protecting you. But if you see it in the photo though, it's still the same problem. So I don't know. I've seen hey, take my photo, but you stand on that X, you can take a selfie, but I'm 6 feet behind you.
Yeah.
Well, how's that going to happen? I don't know if it is. And if it is, it's, let me put it this way. If it is, I wouldn't pay for it. And that's kind of how I gauge everything. Yeah. You know, people might, and that's great if they do, if that's the level they want. But I'm just that person that if I'm paying a premium for an experience, I want my premium experience. I want my, looking at my office when I'm talking to you guys, I've got the picture of me with Mark Hamill, Bill Shatner, the cast of Quantum, that's cool. And it's I want hey, I'm here with you for a moment. It's an interaction. Mark's got his arms around me. I've got my arms around Backlund Stockwell, nice. Shatner's sitting there. You don't touch Shatner. But that in itself is the experience. So is there an answer for celeb photography? There are options. There's no solution, but none of the options are one I would personally pay for.
Yeah, it's weird because I was part of an experience not too long ago where I met Jamal Charles, Brian, and that was a whole virtual thing, which was pretty crazy. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, where it was a one-on-one experience. You got to chat with him through Zoom, and he had an iPad where he was signing a picture of him and emailing it to you, for whatever you wanted it to say. And as I was talking to Brian about this, I was like, that's kind of weird. I've never experienced anything like that. There is no one-on-one photo like you would expect at a con, but that was a one-on-one interaction and experience that was pretty cool. So, bringing that into this conversation, is that something that maybe you would see down the line where you're not going to meet your person of interest at the convention, but maybe there's a booth where you can have a one-on-one through a Zoom call or anything along those lines?
Let me tell you how it's going to happen. So one of the companies I own, Talent for Cons, built a model with a social media company where conventions, we did that exact thing. So we did celebrity one-on-ones with like the cast of Voltron, and people like that. And there is a value there. You're getting hey, here's my 60 seconds. on a Zoom call with somebody, which is the safest way. So from that standpoint, there's value. And there's other companies that have gone on to kind of make it their regular thing for right now. Wizard World is doing it like on the regular. GalaxyCon is doing it on the regular. They've turned this into a thing. I think even Fanboy Expo was doing stuff like that. So everybody tried to do that in the virtual space.
Right.
The one-on-one makes sense to me. I totally get that. If it's somebody you want that opportunity just even to talk to for a couple of seconds, because it's similar. It's at least, because when we were designing it from the standpoint, it was how do you clone the experience at that table in the exhibitors hall for the fan? And that's step one. Step two, which I'll say I just outwardly just don't like. I don't like and I'm virtually signing this on an iPad for you. It goes back to, here, I'll let my geek flag fly hard. Star Trek Star Trek First Contact. Captain Picard is walking around with Data, and they see the ship, the first warp capable ship. And Picard walks up and he touches it. And Data's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "For humans, there's an experience that is just created through tactile contact. It's you feel it." And Data feels it. And he goes, "Well, there's imperfections here." He's like, "You'll get there."
Yeah.
When you have that experience, and it goes back to what I said with the celebs that we work with and represent, it's people are not paying, $20, $30, $50, $100 for the autograph. That's the memento of a moment. And the moment is you got to walk up and you got to see whoever and go, "Hi there." And they stop for that one second. They go, "Hi, how are you?" And it's like, I am talking to somebody who portrays somebody very important to me. So the money invested is the money of time, the money of the moment, and the signed print photo element you're getting is you're walking away with, I'm gonna like I look at that picture and it's, again, if I can flip it, I'd show you. I walked in and I'll tell this is it's one of my favorite celebrity stories. I meet a lot of celebrities. I've met George Lucas working at Universal, Steven Spielberg. I mean, we're talking A-list through the yin yang, very important Academy Award winning people, Grammy winning. So it's very hard for me to go, "Oh," but there's always going to be the 10-year-old boy in me.
Yeah.
And this is the one that's afraid of, if I meet somebody, please don't be a dick. I had the opportunity. We booked Mark Hamill at a show. And I have my little piece of, my book when I was a kid. This is, what do you want to be when you grow up, in 5th grade? And I wrote Luke Skywalker. So Star Wars, was the big thing. And I'm a child of the 70s. So I was trying to figure out what to get signed, as my memento for it. And my wife was the one who turned around and said, "Hey, you always make fun of the fact, in 1994, you guys remember there was this window of time in the 90s when Star Wars wasn't cool. And it was late 80s and early 90s, because it's like, oh God, the nerd stuff, late 80s.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh yeah.
And
that's
so
right.
my license tag on my car, back when personalized tags weren't as popular, I was able to get one in Florida, and it's X-WING. So I had the X-Wing.
Nice.
And I loved it. And my wife was smart to remember. She goes, because you have to change a tag every so many years because of age. She goes, "You still have the original one from the first time you put it on your car. You should take that." So I'm working a convention. I'm in my sport coat, dressed professionally, because I'm in charge of a bunch of stuff. And I show up and I'm like, they have me on the list so I can just go in before everybody else. And I have my license, this license tag. So I'm like, all right, be cool, act professional. You should always do that. And I walk in and I realize, like, no matter what level of professional you're acting right now, you're holding a 20-something-year-old license tag. Yeah. And they bring Mark in and they sit him down. And I'm like, okay, there he is. And they're like, "All right, you good?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, ready to go." And I'm like, "Mr. Hamill." He's like, "Hi there." And I'm like, "Hi." I said, "I know. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a geek." And he goes, "That's okay. We're all geeks here."
Yeah.
And he's super welcome. Nice. So I'm like, all right. So I do the professional thing, and I'm going to stand next to him holding my tag, like, "Hey, this is a cool photo," so I can have the picture of it and then have him send it later. And I am completely taken off guard because he reaches over, like, again, I'm just being professional, saying next to him, like, nice. He reaches over, grabs me, pulls me in for a hug, hugs me in the photo, and is pointing at how cool he thinks the tag is. And at that point, professional in his 40s,
Gone.
event consultant.
That
His
went out the
10-year-old
window.
boy.
Yeah.
And it's just, let me see if I can do this. Here you go. We're gonna
Oh,
see
here
the
we go.
office
We're
now.
doing the thing.
So
Oh,
there you
that
go.
is so
Awesome.
awesome. Yeah, that's
And then
amazing.
he wanted to
That's
sign it. So I
amazing.
get to tell that story forever. Of you
that's
kind of
great.
see
Look at that.
the look
Look
on
at
my
that.
face. My wife loves
Yep.
that picture because she goes,
Yep.
"You weren't expecting that. I can see the look on your face. I
That's,
know."
that's the kid. That's the kid coming out, man.
And I'm just like, completely off guard. There we go. Oh, magic. And that is an experience. I can tell
Absolutely.
that story. The autograph is the memento I show from that experience,
Yeah.
but the experience is the important part. So as we come out of the pandemic, it's going to be very hard to replicate that, at least for the next
Absolutely.
couple of years.
Yeah.
So is there a solution for a photo op? I don't foresee one that I would like. Do the virtual pieces work? Yes. I like the one-on-one chats, but I want to make sure that I'm getting something shipped afterwards if I do that. And that's the ones that we operated. Will those continue to exist? Now, we're going to segue into a whole other topic, which is hybridization of conventions.
I was actually going to ask you about this, so I know where you're going here. Yeah, go for it.
So
yeah,
here is an example. Here, there are two projects I'm working on right now with conventions. Yeah. Example number one, using like Gen. I'll just tell you, this is one of the things I sent to Gen Con yesterday. Mm-hmm. So have you been to? I'm assuming you've been to Gen Con before.
I've been to every single one in Indy.
Okay, so Gen Con, the way Gen Con operates versus your standard pop culture con is when you go to a standard pop culture con, you're going to a theme park, which is you buy your ticket to the theme park and you can ride all the rides. You can pay for a little premium here and there, but your ticket's covering all the rides you get to. Gen Con, Origins, PAX, your tabletop analog gaming events are the county fair. You buy your ticket to get into the county fair, but damn it, you got to buy a bunch of tickets to get on all the A-list rides and a bunch of rides. So you're buying tickets, buying a ticket to buy more tickets. So with Gen Con, Origins, those shows, the concept is, hey, because again, I specialize in anime. Let's find tabletop games and concepts like Pokemon, Attack on Titan, Cowboy Bebop that have board games and CGs and properties out there. Now, say, for example, I take an actor from Cowboy Bebop and I go, hey, your market rate is X dollars per autograph. I'm going to ship you 20, 30 boxes or box covers from the Cowboy Bebop game and pay you to sign all of them. Okay. Now, because I've paid you to sign all of these, included in that price, I want you to be available at this date, at this time for a Zoom call that you're going to Zoom into a room that we have set up tech with somebody from the game company that goes, hi, I'm so-and-so that helped create the Cowboy Bebop game. And this is so-and-so, the voice from Cowboy Bebop. Yeah. And you're going to have an unopened box and you're going to open it live during this call in front of everybody and spend 30 minutes talking about the game and Cowboy Bebop. And then there's going to be a mic with a camera and somebody could walk up and go, hey, so-and-so, I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan. When you were working on the show, and you do the Q&A there. Now, when you do that in the Gen Con model or the Origins model, the tabletop gaming model, I can charge for those first couple of rows as VIP seats, and they all include that signed copy of the game. So now I found a way to monetize and create a cost-neutral experience where a celebrity is virtually appearing, but it's actually worth something instead of just, hey, here's a Zoom call, I'm sitting in a room watching it, because you could watch that shit on Twitch at home.
Absolutely.
So you've got to create that extra added piece. So hybridization is going to come in the form of, can you do virtual appearances? Yes, but they have to have some sort of value beyond I'm sitting in a room watching a TV. So that's format number one that I have proposed with one of the shows, two of the shows I work with. Right. The other format, and this is personally my favorite one, because it solves a lot of problems we've had for years. Did you guys see all the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies?
I saw the first one.
Okay, well, you're lucky because the third one's okay, but the second one is like, I hate that as much as Star Wars 8. But in Star Trek Into Darkness, Leonard Nimoy appears as Mr. Spock for a scene, or like one scene where he shows up. He was too old to leave or do anything at that point. They went to his house, set up the green screen, set up the lighting, he just knew his lines and he sat there and did it because it's just him on a view screen. So you don't know any better. So as far as the audience knows, it's Spock, the magic of Hollywood. but you were able to put old Spock and new Spock together. Now, let's say I want Chris Pine. I bring Chris Pine to a show from Star Trek, right? Shatner can't travel yet because he's in that older high risk thing, and throwing him in a con is asking for trouble. But I have Chris Pine on stage with a moderator doing a Q&A, and then I have a giant screen behind him and a camera and a screen in front of him while he's sitting there, and I bring Shatner on. So you have Kirk, and you do a live Q&A with the two of them, one virtually, one in person. And then you're in that room experiencing their Zoom conversation with the audience contributing to it.
Yeah, I like that.
That is still a fan experience, and that's hybridization. You're not going to be able to do a, hey, look, come sit in the room, and here's just Bob. Bob's our favorite celebrity, and we're all going to sit in a big room with a Zoom call. It'd be a little fucking boring. Sorry. But here's a human anchoring you with your root, because he's part of the same conversation you are. I'm doing that by looking at Japanese voice actors and partnering them with their American counterparts.
That'd be really cool.
Voice of so-and-so in Japan, and here's the voice of so-and-so in America, and here's my translator in between. It's like,
that's cool.
So when you did the voice of this anime character, what was your motivation? It was this and this. And in Japan, translate. It was this. And the person is translating back to them what is being said in English in the audience. So you have a really cool conversation, because it's like, you're my favorite anime character and you're my favorite anime character. What's your two approaches to it? But it's still an in-person situation. So for far away guests that are expensive to fly in, or for those of our population who fall still into high risk after conventions come back, that's a safe way to do it in a hybrid format. And I think you're going to see that hybridization become prevalent as we come back, at least through 2023.
Do you still see any sort of hybridization for people who are still very weary about attending in person? Do you think there's going to be that hybridization of people who want to buy a badge and stay at home and have an experience as well?
The virtual
there's two levels to
type
that
thing?
We were going to do that with WasabiCon if we happened last October period. And we're probably going to do it with both of my shows that I own this year. And the concept is that we're going to go, here is, if you buy the absentee attendee badge, you will get the custom lanyard, custom badge, just like you were at the show.
That's cool.
And every media guest we have is going to sign an autograph. You can have it personalized.
That's cool.
And then
like that.
after the show is done,
that's cool.
You spend a couple $100s on this package. It's going to be shipped to you at home. And you're gonna be like, oh my God, here's everything I could have picked up at WasabiCon. Here's my badge. Here's my t-shirt. Here's my signed picture of this voice actor.
That's great.
And we're going to offer that at our shows. The next level to that is, and this is dependent on the show's infrastructure itself. There are shows talking about, and I think we'll see it happen, that you buy a package like that or similar to that, and it includes an access, and you get to log into a firewall kept camera access, and it's like, hey, here's the camera to our main events room. So all weekend long, even though you can't be here because you paid, you get to log in through your unique user and login, and you can control that by saying only one person can be logged in with that user and login. So if you leak it, screw you. It's up, hey mom, log in too. Nope, only one, you're out. And then you can sit there and watch all of the Q&As live from the comfort of your home. You're going to see that. There are going to be conventions that are going to devise. Honestly, again, going back to Gen Con has had a streaming room at Gen Con for 4 or 5 years already.
Yeah, they really have. Yeah.
It was upstairs. Like I run the anime in the Westin, and we have the entire downstairs, and that one floor upstairs from us is where all their streaming, and every year, like the team's like, man, come up here, should do something streaming. I'm like, nah, bro, I'll stay downstairs with the weebs. Thanks. They've already built that infrastructure that they do stuff like that. And I know a lot of the A-list events are doing we're going to have to pay for high-speed internet. I'm working on a project right now that's going to require kind of that back and forth with something in Japan so that fans can have and see a virtual experience. But that means cost goes up for the convention because, if you've never done this, getting high-speed internet in a convention or conference center is like paying for a whole second show. It's
very expensive.
Worse from city to. If I did it in a city like Chicago or Boston, I could consider buying another car.
Mhm.
you know, versus some other cities that'll be cheaper.
Yep.
But that's going to be it. So hybridization version A,
Mhm.
here's you want to support my show. Here's the absentee ticket. It's, you know, a couple $100, but it includes an autograph from everybody. Put in the name that you want for that autograph.
Mhm.
Put in that you're going to get the badge, put in your t-shirt size, and we're going to ship it all to you. Hybridization number 2 is you're going to get your badge, et cetera, et cetera. Plus here's your user and password, or it will be, your user and password will be sent to you the day before the convention for security purposes. Log in and watch our main events room all weekend, or log in and here are the times that we will be broadcasting that you are permitted to see.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make Aaron Yeager speak with Aaron Yeager, man. That'd be awesome. Have that kind of conversation going on.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, there's one I already have potentially lined up. I'm just checking availability. And then I have 3 others I get to go through on the list for doing the anime to anime conversations I'm designing.
That's
for North
cool,
America
man.
next year.
That's real cool.
Now, one other thing I want to have you kind of talk about is a lot of people are wondering what would be a good time of year. Do you feel that it's too early to do cons right now, like say in March, April? Do you feel like it's too soon right now? When do you
getting ahead of ourselves or what?
What's the forecast, Tom, for doing a convention in 2021? When do you think it's a lot more feasible? I mean, do we have the data? Do we have enough data right now?
How I feel doesn't matter. This goes back to the do I feel teenagers should abstain from sex in high school? How I feel about that, is it going to stop them?
Right.
No.
Of course.
The better answer is, are we having conversations to equip shows that are happening? Because it's not when, because it's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening.
There's a 3-day show in Atlanta right now for horror. In a couple of weeks, there's a 3-day show happening in Jacksonville for pop culture. They're happening already.
They're going to happen.
Whether or not it's too soon doesn't matter. Whether or not the kids are having sex in high school doesn't matter, ethically, morally, or whatever. It's happening.
Right.
So now we have to go to, can it, or, you know, to what level should it happen? And I think the answer to that is they're happening. I think there's a way for them to control it better. And I've been a public critique about that. I've given you already, and, you know, I've been repeating myself of the, hey, don't just look inside your room, look at the holistic show, plan for the holistic show. That needs to improve. Can shows, I think shows in the 5,000 person range, I think they're manageable. And I say that from the experience of walking around Disney, but it's hard to have Disney money at a 5,000 person show.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's kind of a contradiction
of course.
Yes, you could run a 5,000 person show, no problem, super safe. However, do you have the money that Disney has to do it? No, because you're probably a 100,000 person show if you're doing that. So I think it's like anything else. We're going to crawl 1-day toy shows. We're going to walk 2 to 3 day shows. And I don't think we're going to run for a while. And my prediction right now is Anime Expo is going to cancel, because I don't see them managing that show, even if they try to do a limited capacity version of it. San Diego Comic-Con, I think same thing's going to happen. None of these shows are going to announce until closer to 60 days out, because it's still hard to do predictors on you know, everything I'm saying. Literally, we're in the midst of fluctuating times. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine, yesterday got signed off? So now we have 3 coming into the wild. So we might now have a whole other infusion of potential vaccines coming in. That's going to change the whole conversation. You know, so suddenly it's we're not going to make our timeline. We are going to make our timeline. Oh, now we might definitely make our time. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, that's right.
But the should they happen is no longer a conversation.
Yeah,
they're happening.
They're already happening.
How they should be happening is the conversation at this point. And the how is don't do giant shows, you know, at least in the spring. Summer, you're pushing your luck. End of summer, I think we're going to be there.
You think so?
I think we're going to be there in a limited capacity. You know, it's I'm going to my, you know, here I am at the end of July, early August, going to my, 50,000 person show, but it's only 20,000 tickets. Because I can spread 20,000 people around a 50,000 person space.
Right.
You know, it's a 100,000 person show. However, we're only selling 50,000 tickets. because we want people to space. Because the one thing you'll learn when you go to a theme park, like I said, Disney's the ideal. When I walk, like the reason I went most recently is my wife was dying. She wanted me to go see Rise of the Resistance, the new ride at the Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Which, if you ever get a chance to see, if you're a Star Wars nerd,
oh, I want to go so bad.
One of the greatest theme park experiences of my life, and that's from a guy who worked for Universal and Disney for years. And I've been to theme parks in Japan, all over the fucking planet. Yeah. Rise of the Resistance is as good as the hype says it is. Okay. That said, when we got there, they were at a limited capacity, which is great, but it didn't stop people from what's popular. So if you walk over to Black Spire Outpost, the Star Wars section, oh my God, there's a shit ton of people. I don't want to stay there. You walk over by the new Mickey Mouse ride at Chinese Theater, oh my God, there's a crowd of people. So you can have the right amount of people spread out. Doesn't mean they're going to spread out.
Of course. Yeah.
I go over to the Indiana Jones ride. Why? It's closed, or the show. And I hang out there in between stuff because there's nobody around. So you have to manage yourself correctly. So what's going to happen and people are going to do is, well, we're opening a convention at limited capacity. But oh my God, look at all those people who are shoved together. If it's within the show, there's only so much you can manage. So and this is where, we have to be very informed and very careful at how we are being observers. If I am in an exhibitor's hall or I'm looking and there's a celebrity there and everybody's crunched together, then I'm going to go, well, you should have known the celebrity is going to be crunched. There should be somebody managing that crowd.
Right.
If it's I'm walking through and suddenly there's just a bunch of people that picked up in an area, natural bunching is going to happen. There's only so much you can plan and manage. You can't, there's only so many predictive models you can create for that. So when we do cons and the larger cons come back, it's going to happen. But, once you see that you have a hotel lobby full of hundreds of people on top of each other, know that you need to plan that for the next show.
Yeah.
And then if the next show comes and you haven't planned for that, then either you're just not paying attention, you don't care, and either one is going to be impactful on your brand. So should we doing cons now? I'm not here to say it because they're doing it.
They're doing it.
How should we be doing it? That's the conversation we need to happen.
Absolutely.
Should big shows happen? Not until at least later in the summer.
Yeah.
And that's being generous. And again, that could change next week. Or a week after.
That's right.
I could, 30 days from now, I'll be like, oh, fuck, no. The rollout is so slow. Don't do anything.
Forget it.
Stay in your house until next year. But
yeah,
if everything is tracking the way conversations are going by by mid-July, I think these big shows can roll back out limited and with a lot of safety protocols. But in the interim, during the summer, I guarantee you're going to see a plethora of my 1 day, 2 day local 2,000 person show are going to try to run all over the place in different states. Some states will allow that. So, you don't look for this shit in California or Oregon or Washington State. But Florida, Georgia,
that's not
especially
happening.
Georgia. I mean, Georgia is a hotbed for pop culture events in the Atlanta area. There's like 100 events in that one city.
Yeah.
You can see all of them do here's our 1 day event. Come support us. And starting when the school's out in the summer, June and July, kids have been cooped up from homeschooling or hybrid learning and all. Holy shit, maybe I can go outside again. And it's going to, the garden hose is going to get uncrimped and it's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tom, that's all the time we got for you today, man. We do appreciate you being on the show. And I would have loved to say that I think we're all very optimistic this year when it comes to doing conventions. And I look forward to attending some conventions this year and going back to the scene. And I do hope to attend a couple of your conventions, Tom, at some point, and come check those out as well.
So here's the list. You know what? I'll even pull up what am I supposed to do this year? And it's funny because I'll read this list and then we'll see, by the time we revisit this in a month, how much of that list still exists. So as the world stands, because some of this from a promoter, person who runs shows standpoint, this is a nightmare. I mean, I'm excited because I'll get to travel again, but it's a nightmare. So let me walk you through this. My first show that I'm physically supposed to be at this year is July 30th, August 2nd, Calgary Expo. Now, Calgary Expo is in Northwest Canada. It's probably it's about as north as you get. It's the Canadian Rockies, middle of nowhere. So I'm going to be in that part of the country, right? So that's July 30th, August 2nd. Then straight from there, the next weekend. So no weekend off. Straight from there, I have to be across the country at Fan Expo Boston in Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm starting in Florida. I'm going from Florida up to Calgary. I'm going from Calgary over to Boston. Okay. So then the next weekend, I go straight from Boston. I fly back down to Florida for MegaCon in Orlando, Florida, and that's the 12th to the 15th. Then once I wrap up that, I fly straight over to the other side of the coast to Portland, Oregon. And Portland, Oregon, WasabiCon PDX will be August 21st and 22nd.
Wow.
Then while I'm on that side of the country, I fly all the way back to the other side of the country to Toronto in Ontario for Fan Expo Canada, August 26th to the 29th. So while I'm in Toronto, where have I not? Oh, I know. I'll fly all the way down to the middle of the United States and go to Dallas for Fan Expo Dallas 2 weeks after that. So I have 5 conventions in a row for 5 weekends, a weekend off, Dallas, a weekend off, and then my team is supposed to be at Edmonton Expo in Canada and Origins Game Fair in Columbus on the same weekend. So I don't know which one I'm going to be at yet. So I'll send my team to one and me at the other. Weekend off, and then WasabiCon in Jacksonville, Florida, October 16th to the 17th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 conventions between July 30th and October 17th, all compressed in that window because everybody's shoving themselves to that time of year, thinking it's when everything's going to happen.
Wow, look at that flight schedule, man.
I can get all my miles back. But that's when most of the shows are pushing to at this point. That's when everybody thinks, we're all looking at the end of the summer going into the fall and winter is going to be that target time when doing these conventions is going to happen again. Again, June, July, I think it's still going to be too hot for it. But if you want to see the adventures of all that, I am on Instagram. I am on Twitter. I am on Clubhouse now because I guess that's the new cool thing the kids do. And then my own website is my name, which is Tom Croom, TOMCROOM.com. And then the company I represent is Wasabi Anime. We have our own Twitch channel, twitch.tv Wasabi Anime. Every social media, just find Wasabi Anime. We're talking YouTube, we're talking Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Oh, we have a Discord now. wasabianime.com/Discord. All the stuff we've had to learn to do virtually in a pandemic. But you want to see me complaining about conventions, it's my personal social media. If you want to check out all the projects Wasabi Anime has, including the show I'm on, Convention Nerds, check out all Wasabi Anime's websites and social media.
Awesome. We'll have links to all this good stuff, right, Brian?
We will. Yeah, I'll be sure to post those. I'll have Tom send me those links.
I don't hear you anymore.
Uh-oh. You lose me in the ear?
Say something. I can't hear anybody.
Yep. You there? Can you hear me?
Yep. Nothing?
Uh-oh.
Oh, man. We lost Tom.
Did we lose him? Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Maybe?
At least it's
weird.
At least it's the end of...
my AirPods went away for a second.
There we go.
I was like, that was kind of weird. Yeah, I was like, what's going on?
I was like, I gave that whole speech, and then suddenly I came because I saw you worthing,
and he's gone.
And it's over. It's done.
No.
Yeah.
And the battery's not dead. It says it's at 60%. It just my AirPods decided now is a good time to do something else.
Yeah, but I was looking at it looks like WasabiCon is the same weekend as Indiana Comic Convention. So
really?
I'm gonna try to do 2 shows that weekend. I did that 2 years ago. I went to Wizard World, and I think it was like Horror Hound, same weekend. That was fun. So we'll see about coming down to Florida. I like to come to Florida.
I'll give you my worst one ever. Was I was working for Anime Expo in I think it was 2013, and my buddy Mike owned Florida SuperCon back then, and every year up until I started working with Anime Expo. It was 2012. I had always done Florida SuperCon, and I'd always run events. Wasabi Anime was always there, and then I got hired in LA to do this, and I got guilted so hard about. I know it's 2013. It's the second year I did it because I missed the 1 year, And then the second year they were bringing me back, and he's like, so you're not going to come? You're not going to even host a panel? I'm like, making me feel like shit, man. He's like, no, just, it's okay. It's all right. So he got me a hotel.
Wow.
I ran stuff at Anime Expo in LA all through the weekend. I caught a red eye Saturday night, slept on a plane, landed, got to my hotel, showered, changed, popped a couple of Red Bulls, and went and hosted panels at SuperCon. So I did panels in LA, and on the same weekend did panels in Miami.
That's crazy,
to wrap up the weekend. I will never do that ever again.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I
don't blame you one bit. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being on another episode with us here, and you're always welcome to come back, man, anytime.
Appreciate it.
We can talk all about
super
Tom.
Insightful.
And like I said, I hope to meet you one day, and maybe I'm sure I'll run into you at a convention eventually, and we'll hang out, hopefully. All things considered.
Take a socially distanced selfie with our masks on, and and set the example.
Yes.
But yeah, no, definitely let's revisit the what was it? It was October last time, right? So October, November, December, January, February. So 4 months. So let's consider like revisiting the conversation in 4 more months and see how much of this conversation came true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That would be
sounds like a plan.
Because by then it'd be we'd be in the summer. So
it'd be June, sometime in June. That sounds good.
Like a plan, man. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for being on the show. As I go all blurry here, and we'll definitely pick this conversation back up sometime in the summer, and we'll have all of Tom's links because this is on this video will be on. You guys are watching this on YouTube, so we'll have all those links below in the description there where you can find Tom, Wasabi Anime, and his Convention Nerds podcast that he also co-host. And we have a big announcement to make, by the way. We have a guest joining us, Victor, next week. We're going to have Jesse Cove, who was on Cobra Kai season 3. He is going to be on the show next week. And so we're gonna talk with him about his time on Cobra Kai, what it was like growing up with John Kreese as his dad. And,
that'd be crazy, right?
That's gonna be a good conversation for you guys to look out for. So be sure to look out for that next week. Until then, thank you guys so much for joining us here on another episode of Dragoncast. Until next time, we'll see you guys
later.